The Oklahoma City Thunder have officially pulled off one of the best rebuilds in league history. Just over a year ago, a lot of people looked at Sam Presti as a modern-day Sam Hinkie, but I think it's become relatively clear that assessment was just wrong. In 2020, this team was in the playoffs. That was following trading away their two best players. They then decided to go further into a rebuild, but fast forward to this season, depending on how the end of the year breaks, they could be in the play-in, but regardless, a perennial playoff group is clearly on the horizon. The face of that group is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who has quickly cemented himself as one of the best guards in the entire league and is possibly in contention for the top shooting guard spot depending on what position you consider certain players. When SGA came over to OKC in the Paul George trade, I don't think anyone thought what we were seeing was even remotely in the realm of possibilities. He was coming off a rookie year where he averaged 11 points and 3 assists, shooting with decent efficiency. Considering that he was 6'6", playing the point guard position, there was a lot of room to be optimistic, but the perceived ceiling was pretty low. Today, he's one of the toughest players to guard with his ability to draw contact. He's averaging 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 51% from the field, 34% from 3, and 91% from the line on nearly 11 attempts a game. They then went on to land Lu Dort as an undrafted free agent, and he quickly became a super exciting 3-and-D piece for this roster. Now the expectations have grown pretty significantly after he signed a 5-year, $87.5 million extension, so him shooting just 40% from the field is not quite the jump we're hoping for. Despite him looking like an NFL linebacker, he just can't seem to finish at the basket. It might go down as a pretty big overpay, but that doesn't mean he won't be a key part of this Thunder's future rotation. He is still just 23 years old. Then we've got one of the better draft selections I think we've seen in recent memory, and that was the Thunder taking the chance on 6'8" Australian point guard Josh Giddey with the 6th overall pick in 2021. Now, why I say that was one of the better selections we've seen is we need to remember this was a massive reach for the Thunder, especially with a guy like Jonathan Kuminga still on the board, but I think it's become pretty clear they made the right pick. In just his second season, Giddey has taken the exact jump everyone was hoping for. We all knew he was one of the best passers in the league, but he's now averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 49% from the field. It's never flashy with Giddey. He just seems to get by defenses with the simplest of moves and uses his size masterfully. Now for him to take the next jump, he's going to have to become a better perimeter threat, but with him already exceeding expectations in so many ways, I'm confident that next jump is still coming. Then there's their most recent lottery selection, Jalen Williams. Williams was a super late draft board riser coming out of a smaller program in Santa Clara, but eventually his production and insane combine numbers were just too much to ignore, and the Thunder grabbed him with the 12th overall pick in the draft. And what's been an overall disappointing draft class at this point, I just don't understand why more people aren't talking about what Williams is doing right now. He's legitimately been one of the best rookies to this point, and he's on fire lately. The 6'6" wing is averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 52% from the field and 35% from 3. Solid numbers, but with SGA in and out of the lineup lately, we've gotten the chance to see what he's really capable of, averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 57% from the field and 50% from 3 in the last 11 games. He's a legit all 3 level scorer both on and off the ball and truly has the chance to be the number 2 option in OKC. Scary when you consider who's coming to this lineup next season. Now the rest of the roster they're building is also extremely solid. After being waived by the 76ers, the Thunder were able to land Isaiah Joe on a 3-year deal, a player that's become one of the top 3-point threats in the entire league, currently shooting 44% from 3 on over 5 attempts a game. They've got solid 3-and-D forwards and Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Kenrich Williams locked up. They also have high upside young guys like Trey Mann, Poku, and Ousmane Dieng, a player that was actually taken ahead of Jalen Williams in the most recent draft. Moral of the story, a really solid group is in the making here. Just assuming normal progression for this group as it stands right now, the future will be bright, but things get crazy when you consider the 2nd overall pick in the draft, a player that was dropping jaws ahead of the season, still hasn't taken the court. We're talking about Chet Holmgren. As a freshman at Gonzaga last year, Holmgren was absolutely unstoppable. Not only was he one of the top rim protectors in the country, averaging 3.7 blocks a game, but he was also averaging 14 points and 10 rebounds, shooting an insane 61% from the field and 39% from 3. Impressive, no doubt, but what made him such an interesting prospect was there was somewhat of a lack of offensive freedom playing for a top program like Gonzaga, so some people didn't really know where his upside stacked up with his fellow top prospects in the class. That was until the Summer League. In his debut, our very first chance seeing him in any sort of NBA action, he goes out there and drops 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 6 blocks, knocking down 4 of 6 threes. Now these weren't your everyday stretch big shots. He was taking the ball up, taking players off the dribble, and hitting tough looks. Now yes, it was obviously just the summer league, but that doesn't change the fact that he looked absolutely legit. It's not a coincidence that the rookie of the year odds evened out overnight. Now, it wasn't pure dominance all summer league. His numbers were up and down. We saw him get bullied by Kenneth Lofton on defense, but he truly passed the eye test in a fashion few players ever have in the summer league. To say the expectations changed overnight is an understatement. He continued his impressive outings throughout the summer in pickup and pro-ams, but it would actually be in one of these pro-ams that he would go down with a season-ending foot injury. An injury that there's definitely some reason to be concerned for long term, but after Kevin Durant came back from an Achilles tear, as still one of the best players in the league, and Lonzo Ball can reportedly still not even run from his meniscus tear over a year ago, injury prediction really just feels like pure speculation at this point. Assuming he's the player he was before the injury, man, is this team gonna be fun? I'm not sure there's too much room for growth in SGA's game, as well, it's just hard to top what he's doing right now. But when you consider the progression of guys like Jalen Williams, Giddey, Ousmane Dieng, and the rest of this young roster, it's hard to deny the success that's coming OKC's way, and we haven't even gotten into the draft picks. After Chet's injury, it seemed like the door was open for OKC to once again have some of the best lottery odds. That reflected in the Las Vegas win totals before this season, but no one was really factoring in an all-NBA season for SGA, so things have gotten a little different. Right now, they sit with a record of 31-35, setting up for a really interesting end of the season. Right now, there's one team sitting with 30 wins, 3 with 31, and another 3 with 32. Every game that goes by, the lottery and play-in situation completely change. If the draft lottery was tonight, at the time of this recording, the Thunder would be tied with the Blazers and Wizards for the 9th best lottery odds, giving them an 18% chance at a top 4 pick and a 4% chance at number 1. What's crazy though, is that if they just managed to jump one spot, decently likely at this point considering the Jazz only have that spot right now due to a tiebreaker, the Thunder's lottery odds would practically double, going to a 32% chance at a top 4 pick and 8% for number 1. Considering this, I think it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to see some weird coaching decisions down the stretch from a lot of teams. Regardless, it looks like the Thunder are headed to a likely mid-lottery selection and a decent chance at cracking into the top 4. Now, outside of the top 5 prospects in this class, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of excitement, but at least we know one of the greatest draft night decision makers will be making the selection. If they're in the mid-lottery, it seems like another forward is likely coming to town. A Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, and maybe even a Grady Dick. No one that's going to be jaw-dropping, but at this point, adding quite literally anyone to this group just sounds scary. But man, is it insane to think about them just jumping one spot, going into the draft lottery with a 1 in 3 chance at landing a top 4 pick. I think 2 to 4, they probably trade it, but this has to be the most exciting team to land the top pick in the draft and undoubtedly take one of the greatest prospects of all time, Victor Wembanyama. The Thunder would be looking at a lineup of Giddey, SGA, J-Dub, in the Rookie of the Year battle in the frontcourt of Chet and Wembanyama. Absolutely ridiculous. But let's just say things go as projected right now, and they get a guy like Whitmore. The Thunder still have 4 first-round picks next season, 4 in 2025, 3 in 2026, 2 in 2027, and the rest of their personal picks past that, setting themselves up to make a move for the next blockbuster player to come on the market. We've seen very few teams ever have this promising of a roster with this good of a contract situation and this good of a future pick pool. Things are going to get exciting, so buckle up. That's the video, guys. You guys tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash the like and sub button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.